Jai Hind everyone. The government has now come up with a draft proposal for CAFE-3 norms, which are basically the corporate average fuel efficiency norms. The draft proposal has now been floated by the Union Ministry of Power and it is now open for public consultation for next 3 weeks and will be implemented from 1st of April. Now, on one side, the government has proposed stricter and tighter norms for the fuel efficiency for the car manufacturers. But these norms, the revised norms that have been floated now, are the revised version of the norms which were previously brought out in September 2025. So I may not be wrong in saying these that the norms that are floated right now are essentially a compromise in between the government and the car makers. The proposed fuel efficiency rules will come in effect from 1st of April. They will remain in effect until March 2023. And the entire auto industry is split in between the rights of the small car manufacturers and the SUV manufacturers. Now, these norms are essentially creating a point of debate over small car reliefs that have been given, safety concerns, and the electrification strategy that has been floated. Now, the government's draft for the third cycle of corporate average fuel efficiency norms, they state tighter fuel efficiency and carbon dioxide emission targets for all passenger vehicle manufacturers. As per the proposal, the car makers will have to gradually cut the average fuel consumption of the cars they sell from 3.73 liters per 100 kilometers in 2027 to around 3.01 liters by 2032. Now, with this new cycle, the government is now planning to push for cleaner, more efficient vehicles and accelerate electrification. And there have been a few controversial provisions that have been offering reliefs for certain small petrol cars, and this is something that has divided the manufacturers. Now, what does these norms brought in for the citizens, the normal consumers? On one side, there has been a huge outcry over the ethanol blended fuel. But these CAFE-3 norms are now to be seen as the official regulation of ethanol blended fuel or the biofuels. Okay. These norms could influence prices, they could influence safety, they could influence the model strategy and the pace of electrification in the years to come. So, what essentially is being proposed by these CAFE-3 norms? So, let us deep dive into this and let us see this. Now, these CAFE-3 norms, the corporate average fuel efficiency, now they are targeting to regulate the average carbon dioxide across a car maker's entire lineup. So essentially, they are not talking about one vehicle or one class of vehicles. It is the entire fleet that is being manufactured by the car company. Now, they have triple goal to cut the greenhouse gases, to reduce the crude oil imports, and to push for cleaner technology. Now, this has been rolled out in phases. So, the proposed CAFE-3 norms, they have sharply divided the automobile industry in the country. Now, with the manufacturers of smaller vehicles and larger vehicles, they have been taking opposing positions and there have been competing proposals that have emerged over how the regulations should be framed. Now, with this latest draft policy, the compliance would be assessed over 2 blocks. There would be an initial 3-year period followed by a 2-year period. The proposed regulations would apply to M1 category passenger vehicles that are having not more than 8 seats in addition to the driver's seat that are manufactured or imported for sale in India in between 27 until 2032. Now, this draft proposes a very tighter, or basically we can say a very progressively tighter fleet average fuel consumption targets for all car manufacturers. Now, why this has been in news? Because the urgent deadlines. So, public comments will close on August 6, 2026. That is again 3 weeks away. The industry is divided. The draft is in news because it follows a year-long lobbying war. So, this is the reason why I am bluntly calling it as a compromise. The small car makers and the SUV giants could not agree on the math that was proposed previously in September 25. Now, for the first time, the government is giving special recognition to ethanol and biofuel cars and changing the game entirely. Now, this draft has proposed progressively very tighter targets. So, what essentially is part of the CAFE-3 norms that is to be seen. Now, fleet average must drop. Now, how does this fleet average drop? So, this draft, it says that the fleet average fuel consumption target must be reduced by around 17% reduction in total time duration of 5 years. Okay, that is from 3.996 per liters per 100 kilometers. Okay, essentially in 27-28 to 3.3 liters per 100 kilometers. Now, this is a phased approach. Okay. Moreover, this phased approach is intended to provide the automakers with greater regulatory stability, and it would also allow them time to develop and introduce more fuel efficient models of their vehicles. Okay. A special recognition has been given to the cleaner fuel cars. Okay. Now, as I've told you, it would be assessed over 2 blocks. Okay. Moreover, the big news this time is the carbon neutrality factor that has been introduced. Okay. So, the cars running on ethanol, okay, the CBG and biofuels get declared CO2 reduction. The draft proposes an 8% point cut for ethanol blended fuel emissions. Okay. The car makers will get extra credit for EVs, strong hybrids, and flex fuel vehicles up to 9 gram carbon dioxide per kilometer relaxation for adopting the fuel saving technologies. So, by and large, this draft, the CAFE-3 draft norms have proposed specific reductions in declared tailpipe carbon dioxide emissions for vehicles that use ethanols, biofuels, and the CBGs. So, CBGs are compressed biogas. Now, such a move of introducing a carbon neutrality factors comes for the very first time in the history of CAFE norms. These draft has also proposed an 8% for current ethanol blending levels, while reduction for CBG and other fuels would be linked to the prevailing blending levels. Okay. This draft has also proposed compliance incentives of up to 9 grams of CO2 per kilometer for approved fuel saving technologies, subject to a total cap of 1 gram per technology. And this would also retain volume based super credits for battery electric vehicles, range extended electric vehicles, plug-in hybrids, strong hybrids, and flex fuel vehicles while calculating the fleet average fuel consumption. Okay, so this is essentially a new model that has been introduced for the very first time. Okay, so essentially we now, okay, have to understand this CAFE, that it is like a class average of a car manufacturers. If a car making company is selling 10 small cars and one massive SUV, the SUV's high emissions must be balanced out by the smaller cars, the affordable cars. Okay, the government does not care about the SUV alone, it cares about the total carbon footprint of all cars that are being sold in India. So the CAFE 1 and CAFE 2 were just the build up. Okay, and CAFE-3 would be the actual thing that will be implemented from 1st of April. Okay, so we can see that for the first time in India, if you put ethanol in your tank, the government will pretend that your tailpipe is cleaner than it actually is. Okay, moreover, if we have to see this totally, this is a massive political and economic move to push ethanol blending. And this is something that may or may not directly reduce our oil import bill. Okay. Now, moving ahead, if we see the industry divide and the controversies around it. Okay. So, the entire firework is happening here. Okay. Now the heavier SUVs naturally consume more fuel. Earlier draft gave SUVs a huge advantage via a steep weight adjustment curve. Okay. So now this is in between affordability and the weighted advantages that SUVs had demanded previously. Okay. Moreover, the new draft flattens this curve. This reduces the SUV advantage. The special 3-gram relaxation for small cars, okay, have proposed earlier has been completely removed. Now, there has been a complete shift in philosophy, moving away from heavy penalties to a market-based credit trading system where companies that overachieve can sell credits to laggards via the Bureau of Energy Efficiency. Clear? Now, imagine you are a small car maker, okay, and you are already squeezing every drop of efficiency. Now the government takes away the special relief that was previously given to you, but if you are an SUV maker, your advantage is also slashed. So by and large, if again I have to put up very bluntly, it is a classic political compromise. Now, in this situation, nobody is entirely happy. It means that probably a balanced policy has been brought up, but there has been a big shift in this. Instead of fining companies, they are letting them trade their carbon credits like the stocks. If you make a super efficient EV, you can literally sell the carbon credits or the greenness to a competitor who is making vehicles which are polluting the environment. Okay. So overall, if that has to be seen, the government majorly had eyed a balanced policy. Okay. But what is in this CAFE-3 norms for the manufacturers as well as for the buyers? Let us see this. So for car makers, massive R&D push towards hybridization, ethanol flex engines and EVs, increased short-term production costs, opportunity to earn tradable credits and turn compliance into a profit center. For buyers, tech-loaded cars may see a slight price hike initially, which is justified due to the huge R&D involved in this. Significantly long-term fuel savings, so more kilometer per liter and a wider showroom, more EVs, more hybrids and flex fuel options would be available for people. Okay. So in the layman terms, what does it mean or mean for my wallet? This policy will have some short-term pains, but it will have some long-term gains. The car makers will pass the cost of new R&D, new technology initially onto the buyers. So as a buyer, as a consumer, everyone must expect a slight price rise in the showroom prices. But overall, the fuel bills will drop. But the biggest win is not this. The biggest win is the options or the choices that we have. So by 2030, you won't have to decide between petrol and diesel vehicles. You will have classic choices in between electric, strong hybrid, ethanol blended petrol, depending upon whatever cheaper option is available. So what does this have a broader significance? So net zero emission, that is our target to be achieved by 2070. So it directly supports India's climate commitments under the Paris Agreement. Okay. It reduces fossil fuel dependence. India imports around 85% of its crude oil. It would promote made in India biofuels, ethanol from sugarcane, corn, and the CBG from waste. Balanced approach. It balances environmental goals with industrial growth and consumer affordability. Moreover, it also broadly aims the global benchmarks. Now it positions India alongside European Union and the US in strict emission norms. Okay, so this is something that will have good results in a longer run. When India imports nearly 85% of its oil, that is a massive drain on our forex. Okay, now by pushing the CAFE-3, the government is saying that we cannot drill our way out of this, but we have to be more innovative. Okay. Moreover, this is not just about climate. Okay. It is about achieving strategic independence. These CAFE-3 norms as I have told you initially, they ensure that by 2032, Indian cars will be among the cleanest and most efficient cars in the world. And we would be able to achieve this without forcing the industry to be pushed into a corner. So ultimately, the road ahead is green, but the engine is powered by compromise and innovation. Okay. So ultimately, this is something that has been promoted. Okay. So, what all are your views on this? Do let me know in the comment section. Moreover, do subscribe to my Telegram channel, Sharad Mudgal _ Study IQ. The channel has been named Defense Decoded, and herein you can find all the annotated PDFs of all the sessions that I've been taken. Okay. Along with this, there is again a good news for you. The huge price drop that had happened previously is again continuing, but this admissions would close on 21st of July. Okay, so please do not waste any moment further. Do subscribe to the Study IQ courses. The GS Foundation courses in our P2I batches are available at as low price as 7,999. You just need to use the code SRM Live. Now these courses provide you a complete ecosystem wherein you can track your performance and you can introspect, you can get mentors interventions, and you can improve gradually. Clear? So this is essentially all from my side today. We'll see you all in the next session. Jai Hind.